Hello, friends, fellow adventurers, fellow people of whimsy. I would like to take a few minutes. I will try and keep this very brief to show you how we will be running our virtual games during this pandemic. I very much miss sitting around a table and having everyone's delicious potluck food, especially Mary Jo's shortbread. But in the meantime, we will just sit around a computer and have a glass of wine and hopefully get to enjoy each other's company. This is again, like I said, I'm using a virtual tabletop. I'm actually switching to this one from Roll20, which I've been using with my students, and instead I'll be using Foundry, which I actually will host from my home computer. Right now, what you see on the screen is the login screen. You'll see at the top it says that it is not secure on the site information, and that's only because I don't have a security certificate, but you are only talking to my personal home computer, so it's safe enough to use. Everyone will be listed under this select player menu. So to log in, you don't need any kind of account. You just need to find your name on this list and enter the password key the access key that I will be sending to you. It is case sensitive. I do want to show you a few things to get set up. So let me go ahead and I'm going to be Kalima today, and I'm going to log in using her name here. So you will see that the last game we played together was in the Fist of Dawn Keep when the Ooblex were attacking. So I decided to use that as an example. This is the basement level. You can see I'm moving around the screen. I'm doing that by just holding the right mouse key down and just dragging around the screen here. So I'm going to give you an overview of how to use this tabletop, but before I do that, I want to make sure that your D&D Beyond character sheet, which everyone does already have, and I preferred to stick with this for character sheets because I have bought a lot of content for D&D Beyond. It works really nicely. We can use it in person or online. So your characters are already here, and I didn't want to make things more complicated. So what I'm going to show you right now is how to set up basically so your Beyond 20. I'm sorry, your D&D Beyond character sheet can speak to our virtual tabletop, and you'll be able to do these nice rolls that you see over here and use all your skills. This is, of course, optional. If you want to print your character sheet out or run it on your phone and roll dice manually at home, you can, but this just lets a lot of that process be automated. So I've got both of these open. I am using a Chrome browser because that's what the extension is for. To install the extension that lets them talk to each other, which is called Beyond 20, I need to first search for that. It is the Beyond 20 Chrome extension. You're going to see that it is chrome.google.com web store. Click on that to open it. Right now it's already installed, so it says just remove from Chrome, but I believe you have like an install button over here on the right. So once it's installed, we have to do a couple of quick things to set it up, and then after that it should be pretty much automated. So since I have it installed, I'm logged into the game on one tab. I have my character sheet open in the other, or rather Kalima's character sheet. So we'll start with the tab where your virtual tabletop is. At the very top of your browser, you'll see that now that you have Beyond 20 installed, you've got this little red dice with a B in the middle of it. You're going to left click on that to open it, and you'll see some settings. So the first part of this is very standard settings, and you can access them in any tab, no problem. But because we're open in the Foundry tab right now, you have a couple of specific settings at the bottom that are pertaining to the virtual tabletop. You want to make sure the first one is turned on, that display condition. So it should be toggled on by default, but if it's not, go ahead and turn it on. And then this Send Beyond 20 Rolls to tab, you're going to want to put only Foundry VTT tabs. There is a setting for all VTT tabs, but it doesn't seem to work quite as well. So if for some reason only Foundry doesn't work, you might change it to all VTT, but I'm going to, for the time being, leave it on only Foundry. That's the only thing you need to do within the virtual tabletop. So I'm going to just close that by clicking on the red die again. Then I will go to the other tab where your character sheet is open. I will do the same thing. I'm going to open this Beyond 20 extension just by left clicking on it. This time, there's a couple of things in the bottom because, of course, where the other one said it was virtual tabletop settings, this is character sheet settings. Yours might vary a little bit. Kalima has versatile weapons equipped on her character in the form of a quarterstaff, and a versatile weapon can be swung either one-handed or two-handed. So it gives you an option on that if you're using versatile weapons. So for her, if she always used it one-handed, she could go ahead and default to that if she wants to, or always used it two-handed, but I prefer to go ahead and roll both damages separately. That way she's got some choice when she's actually attacking with that weapon. It does roll a few more things, but it's useful. So that you may have other choices here that are specific to your character sheet, and if you don't know what it means, just let me know, and I will be happy to talk you through it. You can leave the rest of these fine, but you do want to open more options, and that will give you a whole bunch of stuff. The majority of this we're not going to touch. The only thing that we're going to look at, there's two settings in here. One of them is the type of roll, and this is referring to advantage and disadvantage rolls. So if you remember certain conditions or certain feats or various things, spell effects, there's a few things that can cause advantage or disadvantage, where you're positioned, if you're flanking, that type of thing. Advantage simply means that you roll twice and take the highest number. Disadvantage simply means you roll twice and take the lowest number. So because you're going to be rolling using your character sheet, this lets you decide how you want your rolls to appear. So I like to use ask every time. You do get a pop-up that asks you what type of roll it is, so it's an extra thing to click on, but I prefer that. The other one that I would recommend is just using a normal roll. So it'll always roll just one die. That way, if you happen to be in a situation where you get advantage, you can just manually roll it again. So either of those is perfectly fine, either normal or ask every time. I'll leave it on ask every time so you can see what that looks like. But just make sure it's on one of those. Then you're going to scroll way, way, way down, ignore all the rest of this stuff because I don't think you need any of it unless something's broke. And you are going to come down to the part where it says select the VTT tab or game to send the rolls to. Again, select only Foundry VTT here. If you wish, you could try the all VTT tab, but I think only Foundry tends to be the least buggy on these. So only VTT tab, it should automatically save. And then you can just close this box and everything should be linked together at this point. So just to refresh, you have Beyond 20 as a Chrome extension. And then in your Chrome, you have two tabs, one with the virtual tabletop, that VTTT that I'm adding extra letters to, and one with your character sheet in D&D Beyond. This should be all you need to have open. So let me test this out. So on your character sheet, you have got various skills, saving throws, you've got your weapons, your spells if you're a spellcaster. Kalima is not, so she does not have a spell tab here. If I wanted, for example, if I asked Kalima to make an acrobatics check, she would click on the word acrobatics, left click, and this box would pop up. And clicking Beyond 20 in this box should, and we want a normal roll this time, roll on the virtual tabletop. And it does. Right here we have in the chat box, she rolled a 9. Well, she rolled a 3, but she has a high athletics, so 6 was added to that, so it makes for a roll of 9. It works the same with attacks. If she were to throw a dart, she has a couple of options here, and you'll see this a lot with spells. One of them is to display it in the VTT, which just describes what the action is. It'll just give you a box of text that you can share with your group, just saying, hey, this is what this spell does. Again, you have to click Beyond 20 to actually cast it or attack. And there we go. She's got 2 this time because it's an attack. The 14 is her 2-hit roll, and the 5 is the damage she does. It provided the 14 hits, which I don't think it does on a Nublix, but so it gets a little bit different with different things. Spells, have a little bit more information, but we'll kind of deal with that on a case-by-case basis when you're actually rolling. That quarterstaff, since she has a versatile weapon, I'm going to roll that real quick to show you what that looks like, because I said that gets a little busier. Yeah, you'll see here that it's a 25 to hit. That's, the same as hitting with a dart, but she also has one-handed damage or two-handed damage. So she can pick. If it's one-handed, I don't know why it totals it for this, but it does. But if she was swinging one-handed, it did 9 points. If she was swinging 2, it did 11 points. Okay, so that gives you an idea of how things work from one to the other. You just click on the word and let it roll. If we are going into combat, you'll want to make sure that you have your character selected. I'll show you how to do that in a moment, and then you'll hit the initiative. I will have an initiative tracker up. Right now it says it can't add the initiative because there's no tracker, but basically a box will be up here with the order of attacks and that everyone will be taking. So it's pretty straightforward. Again, if you prefer not to link these together and you want to use your character sheet manually and roll with manual dice, I'm totally okay with that. This just makes things a little easier. So now you've seen how to hook these two together. Let me give you a real quick tour of the virtual tabletop, and then I will let you go. That'll be the end of class. Try and keep this under 15 minutes here. So you can move around the map by holding the right mouse button down and just literally dragging it while you're holding it down. I'm actually going to close these macros at the bottom here because we're not using a character sheet in here. So you've got these boxes across the bottom. I'm just going to hit the down arrow and just minimize those, get them off my screen. You can actually minimize this chat box here as well by using the arrow at the top that says collapse or expand. And if you want to open it back up again, you hit the arrow at the bottom that says the same thing. The only things in this chat box you're likely to need for the foreseeable future is the actual chat screen, which you'll see attacks and rolls in, and you can use to actually speak. So if there's a lot of people talking at once, you'll get a little speech bubble over your character and you can speak over here. You might find occasionally there might be items, custom items listed here, though I mostly put those in the character sheets directly, and occasionally journal entries, but I don't have anything there right now. Just wanted to show them to you. Okay, so controls for your characters. This very first button up here on the top right below the anvil is all of your basic controls. So if it's on the little square, that means you can pick up tokens and select them. If you go down to the select target right below that, that allows you to target a certain thing. It doesn't work on like environmental things unless I've made them an object, but it will work on enemies or friends. If you want to say, this is the thing that I'm casting on. So you can target something and then just click again to remove the target. This one below it is a measurement tool. So if you know you have 35 feet of movement, you can measure out 35 feet. You can zoom out, by the way, just by using your mouse wheel. So I can see how far the character can move. I think there's a way to make this go around corners, but I have to look up what the keyboard shortcut is for that, so I'll let you know. So those are all your basic controls. Right below it, the only other thing that you might find particularly useful is measurement controls. If you have an area of effect spell or attack, this is how you would measure that. And this is actually kind of a neat feature. So the circle obviously measures circles. So if I've got a 10-foot attack, I can measure a circle to 10 feet, just drag it out to 10 feet, and then I can move it to where I want the attack to be centered. When I want to get rid of that attack, I just hover my mouse wheel over this little explodey looking box and hit delete on my keyboard, and it's gone. Same thing goes for the cone attack, which will usually be centered on whoever's casting it. Again, I can get rid of it. Some very few spells, but a few use a square. So I can measure, you know, a 10-foot by 10-foot square, whatever the case may be. You will not hover over the middle of the square, but over the explodey box to get rid of it. And then this one is just a straight 5-foot wide attack. So for things like breath weapons, that type of thing. So that's kind of useful if you've got an area of effect thing, but mostly what you'll be doing is moving your character around and letting me know where they're at, maybe measuring for distance for an ability. Okay, anything else? Oh, it kind of bothers me a little if my character is not facing the thing it's attacking. This is a personal preference. You can change the direction your character is attacking by holding, or it's facing rather, by holding down Control and just spinning that mouse wheel, and it'll spin the character around. So I could turn her to face this thing she is attacking if I wanted to. But again, I just care where you're positioned, and if you don't want to face the item or you don't want to worry about that, don't even worry about it. But it's a thing that would bother me. I think that's it, and we are right under 15 minutes. Please let me know if you have questions or if something comes up that you did not expect to see, error messages, anything like that, and I will do my best to help you resolve it. Once you get the hang of this, it's a really easy method for playing online. And even though it's not the same as us sitting around a table together, I think we can kind of fake it until we can get together in person again. All right, until then, happy gaming, and I will see you all in Eridani.